One of the most exciting, if less talked about, new features of Adobe After Effects CS6 is the way the new bounding boxes work to help you select and manipulate elements in a scene. One you may already have noticed is when you drag a new layer into a scene, there's this inverted V pattern that wasn't there before. Well, the V is actually an arrow and is there to tell you which way is up on an element-by-element basis, which can be useful, particularly in 3D. Let me move this layer to the back here. If you want to see the V's again, however, they don't show up by default. I suppose because After Effects assumes if you see the contents of a layer, you probably know which way is up. If you need to see them, you just enable wireframe mode in the Fast Views menu, and as you can see, they show up again in all of the layers. Let's switch back to Adaptive now. In older versions of After Effects, it was often challenging to identify the layer you wanted to select and work on, especially if the layer didn't have a helpful or unique name. Your only recourse was often to click on layers one at a time until you saw the bounding box that identified the correct candidate. Well, no more. Now After Effects offers a great new selection indicator, letting you know what layer you're about to choose when you click. So as you move your mouse around on the screen, you see feedback of the layers that are under the mouse. Once the element lights up that you're interested in, just click. If you can't get the object in the comp window, it's probably covered by another element in the scene that's bigger and highlighted by default. In this case, just mouse over the layers in the timeline until you find the one you want. Click it, and it's selected. A cool variation on this new feature is the bounding box that appears around a 3D element. Now that common layers in After Effects can have volume, it's handy to have better visual feedback related to 3D elements. For example, let's select our friend the chain layer. Note that the selection indicator has volume. It's not just a rectangle, it has depth as well. And you can use this to manipulate the 3D object. For example, with the regular arrow tool, you can select an individual side of the bounding box, and then when you manipulate that box like any other After Effects layer, it's constrained to that plane. So you can scale or rotate an object constrained to a plane. Select another plane, and the scale or rotation is constrained to that plane as well. Add the Shift key while scaling to size the entire object uniformly. Since everything you scale and rotate is relative to the anchor point of an object, it's important to control the anchor point as well. For a while now, I've thought they should just change the name of the Pan Behind tool to the Anchor Point tool, since 90% of the time I use it for manipulating the anchor point of a layer in the comp. But now, with these new bounding box behaviors, this tool is even more powerful. Add the Command key on Mac or Control key on Windows to snap the anchor point to useful places. Drag it to a line, it snaps to that line. Drag it to a corner, it snaps to that corner. Drag it to the center of a side, and it snaps there. See this little square? And if you drag it to the center of an object, this double square shows you that you're snapped there as well. This gives you total interactive control over setting your anchor point, and now all of your manipulations take place around these new coordinates, giving you great control over setting up and manipulating a scene.